I'm Simon Martin. I'm the chef patron at Manor in Manchester. So we're a modern British restaurant. We only do a set menu of between 12 and 16 servings, and we're just about using produce that's in season and just simply cooking it to the best of our ability. So I started cooking at 15 in Chester, and then worked in various restaurants around the world, most notably though Restaurant Gordon Ramsay and Noma in Copenhagen. Then girlfriend decided it was time for me to come home.
Okay.
So then came back here and opened Manor in this great part of Manchester.
So you spent quite a lot of time cooking abroad, so obviously doing British food, but you've obviously got that global mind. Tell us a little bit more about when you were cooking in Mexico and how that was.
Yeah, so cooking in Mexico was actually a huge inspiration. I think a lot of people look at Mexico and they don't think that there's much going on other than burritos and tacos, and I mean, burritos aren't even Mexican actually, it's sort of Tex-Mex. But no, I mean, they have an extremely rich food culture, and there's a lot we can learn from it, especially things like cooking with fire and, cooking maybe cheaper cuts of meat. It's a lot more interesting to sort of get involved in the real rustic vibe that they have there, and it's really traditional techniques, but done very, very well and with a lot of love. I think you can learn a lot from Mexican cooking, but aside from that, I mean, travel broadens the mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Working in Australia as well, sort of like an Asian influence there, just because of the proximity to Asian countries. But then obviously the quality of fish over there is incredible, and that was a big inspiration when we came back here, is that we are an island, and we probably one of the only countries in the world where our diets don't reflect our geographical location. We're surrounded by water, and if you're in Sicily, you would be eating fish most of the time, as in South Korea or Tokyo. So I think we really wanted to change that when we came here, and to sort of champion what's in our waters, because we do have some of the best seafood in the world. When thinking about how we could make all this seafood the best it can possibly be, I drew inspiration from a culture that's been doing that for thousands of years, and that's why Japanese sort of cooking and then eventually methodology and ideology came to me, and it just became more and more interesting as time went on, and we wanted to use not only some of the ingredients from there, but also the techniques as well, and to the point where now we actually have a couple of dishes on the menu which are very Japanese, using a couple of Japanese ingredients though, mostly British, and it comes out.
So again, with that travelling angle and that global sort of mindset, you've wanted to sort of improve what's already here, and rather than with the way that we are in Britain is not focusing on what's on our doorstep and not making the most of it, you're actually using a global outlook to treat local things better in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had a lot of great fish restaurants in this country, but not off the coast. And as I said, we are an island and we're not that far from the water. So there's no reason why we can't be doing this style of cooking, which for me, in my eyes, is modern British cuisine. If you look around the world, a region or a country's cuisine is based on what's available to it. So this is what's available to us. And traditionally, we've been very meat driven. Right now, we have one meat serving on the menu. That's the main course. Everything else is fish and shellfish. So it's not like we don't want to identify as a fish restaurant. We just want to identify as what's the best in this country and using that product, because we're an island.
Yeah, and even though Manchester's slap bang in the centre of the country, it's still only 2 hours to the coast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a van drive from the port, isn't it?
From our point of view, getting something from the Shetland Islands isn't that difficult. We can get scallops from the Shetland Islands that you have to pry open. They're that live. So everything's very accessible to us.
If you just tell us a little bit about one Japanese ingredient that you really love, and what did you think when you first discovered it, if you remember?
Yeah, I do remember one Japanese ingredient which, until there's substantial advancements made in the UK, that we were always continually going to want to use, but can't get from here, the quality that we want it, is the kelp. We do use British ingredients wherever possible. There's 4 ingredients on the menu right now, out of I think it says 17 course menu now. And there's only 4 ingredients that we don't get from the UK, but we're not going to sacrifice quality over locality. So we get the kelp from Hokkaido. The first time I came across kelp was at Noma, of that quality anyway. Obviously, seaweeds and like wakame and nori and things like that, you know, we come across that all the time, but then really using like a high quality seaweed, a lot of love and care has gone into it, like kelp. That sort of opened a lot of doors in creating umami in servings. You know, whether it comes from just making a dashi, or you know, we like to roast kelp. We like to make oils out of it. We like to put it in misos that we make here, and it always just adds this depth of flavour. And then, especially when we look towards the higher end of the kelp, it starts tasting less like the sea and just pure umami.
So we got the Wagyu done on the bincho.
Yep.
With the crisp nori top. That's the sort of simple explanation of it. So can you just give us a little bit more of an in-depth description than perhaps I can?
Yeah. So we've got Scottish full-blood Wagyu, and we made British ponzu from beef garum and gooseberry reduction. And then we've just glazed it in a little paste made from fermented corn that's been nixtamalized first. Obviously we use the binch tan from Wakayama in order to cook it, because it gives a sort of almost tastes a little bit, but smells extremely like incense for me.
Right, okay.
It's just so perfumed, so we treat that as an ingredient. And we have a tiny bit of our mustard on there as well. Beef and mustard, it's classic. You know?
Yeah, classic.
And then on the top there, finally, just last minute, a little bit of seasoned nori, just for a little bit of crispness. So we just eat it in 2 bites. So we just pick it up like this, and then 2 bites.
There's just enough of the gooseberry acidity to sort of help the richness in the fat.
Yeah.
And obviously you've all got those are the malty sort of deep flavours as well. So you've got quite an extreme spectrum of flavours, all in one mouthful.
For sure.
But then you've got your textural thing as well, because you were explaining to me about the way you sort of mount it, forces people to eat it that way.
Yeah.
If you could explain a bit more about why you've done that.
Right, so the way that we cut this is against the grain, so that obviously you can imagine a steak like this.
Yep.
When you're slicing it, but you eat it like this.
Yeah, so your teeth can cut through it.
So it can go with the grain, so it's sort of, it runs parallel. So your teeth run parallel with the grain.
Yeah, is that sort of makes a completely different experience as you bite into it then?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're eating something against the grain, it can be extremely tough.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
even though it's the same piece of meat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we cut it like this, so that we can eat it like this.
It seems a shame not to give that a try then. at what we've got. So let's talk through it. So
obviously we've got the scallop in there with the set custard, everything we've been through. And then at the table, we just finish it with this. This is a caramelized scallop sauce. So this takes 3 days to make.
really rich colour on that as well.
Yes, very rich. So obviously we've got like the almost raw scallop in the middle, and then we've got the extremely caramelized scallop sauce around the outside just to season it.
So you're getting the freshness and the texture from the very, very lightly, almost raw, sashimi scallop.
Yeah.
But then all the benefits of like almost an overcooked one.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but obviously you don't have the texture of an overcooked scallop because we've made it into a sauce. It's kind of like XO,
Right, okay.
but without the spice as well.
Lovely. Right, okay.
So the idea behind this is we want to get a slice of scallop with whatever custard is behind it there.
Okay.
So obviously the custard's super softly set. So we want it almost like a sauce, and like it needs to be about the scallop and the texture of the scallop and nothing else.
Yeah, yeah. And the horseradish is really nice. It's really just that sort of peppery note on right at the front of your tongue.
Yeah, I mean for me, spice is the sixth flavour profile.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, and also the chives give it that freshness too, don't they? They give it that.
Yeah. I mean, it is a very rich dish, but we need to try and keep it fresh like that.
That sweetness as well is delicious.
No, I mean, it's rich, but it's a little bit sweet. It's acidic, but you know, you just got that really firm, fresh scallop.
It really is a flavour bomb, that one. That's one you want to lick the dish.
Yeah, and to start the menu with that as well is quite a statement.
Right,
Because obviously
you've got to back that up.
Yeah, we need to. We can't regress in flavour unless we set a palate cleanser in the menu, or something that's really going to just like snap your palate back to, you know, original factory settings, which we don't. You know, with this, there we go from this into an onion dish, which is like crazy powerful, and then we go into a fish dish. And obviously, fish dishes are traditionally quite light.
Right.
But like ours is like, well, we use like aged turbot. Like we aged turbot for like 2 weeks, and we have like this fish sauce that we brine it in, and it's super powerful. And then we finish with duck. But yeah, to have to do 3 servings after this, of this being so rich, is a challenge sometimes to get that much flavour out of things. But I mean, that's what we do here. You know, it's powerful flavours.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
That was great. You want to just keep going, don't you? Yeah. See what you can get out of it.